Hey there, folks. Chris Castle again. Christopher George Castle. Self-proclaimed prophet that probably nobody will ever care about, but I hope for humanity's sake, or at least for our kind of civilization's sake, somebody's eventually watching these. Makes me different than any Bible thumper out there. It's not just about the Bible. I mean, that's kind of enough for most people, but you gotta really believe it. And that's what turns so many people off when they do occasionally watch one of my videos. Like, how can I say so much? I went to church my whole life. You don't know what you're talking about. Yes, I do know what I'm talking about. I didn't just read my favorite verse and memorize this verse and that verse. I read the whole book from the beginning to the end, and I didn't interpret it. I read the words as they were written, and some of it I didn't actually read. When I say beginning to end, I didn't really care too much for numbers. I mean, I know there's stuff in there, but I mean, there's a reason why it's called numbers. I mainly focused on the laws and the rules and the morals and the stories. Love the book of Ruth. See, this is how you know I'm really thorough knowledge of the Bible, because I don't need to refer to it to tell you the story of Ruth. Ruth was what was known as a gleaner. And the gleaners were an important part of the old ways of agriculture, because you'd go through with your scythe and you'd cut down the straw, and then they'd bundle it up and they'd take it all away. What the gleaners did was they would go in after, and they would get all the broken heads, and they would collect those in the basket so that nothing was wasted. But Ruth was like the best of it. She would get every grain. She would not let one grain go astray. And the master loved her and promoted her and all that. But Ruth had a lot of trials and tribulations. And I'm not going to go all into details with it. I'm not going to recite the whole entire book of Ruth, but when I read it at first, it seems like a happy story, but then towards the end, it doesn't really seem so happy. But there's a reason why it's in the Bible, and there's a reason why that's a story for women. That's why it's called Ruth. But it's good for men to at least try to understand it and to get it, and to maybe think, if you think poor Ruth, because for me it's not such a happy ending. And that, I think that's how you're supposed to feel. You're supposed to feel for Ruth. No, the book of Job pretty much forwards and backwards and all of it. I mean, Genesis is alright, but actually the truth is the book of Jubilees. The book of Jubilees was the original, but what happened was when the Greeks made the first Bible, the Jews, because they had the Torah, they had a lot more than the Torah at one time, but by the time Jesus got there, they whittled it down to just bare. Everybody thinks it's all about the Jews bringing glory to everybody with Jesus, but the Jews are the ones that killed Jesus, man. You're here to watch them all, to every last one. And I am a Jew, but I'm not too worried about it, because I accept Jesus. I accept all the stuff that they reject. Everything they reject is the number one thing I want to read. Whatever they remove from the Bible, that's the stuff I'm most interested in, and I've always been read at a college level. I grew up reading encyclopedias. I was abused as a child horribly. I went into that in other videos. I was raped by a neighbor, and he got away with it, and then he tormented me for years. But God got him, because after he raped me, even though he got away with it, he got in an accident. He spent like the last 20, 30 years of his life about what he had done in prison in that chair, and then he choked to death on half a hot dog. He liked to eat like stuff whole Twinkies in his mouth and bite half the hot dog. He got real big and fat. He had giant painful sores all over his butt, because he got so big they couldn't get him out of the wheelchair, and he'd just shit in it and they'd have to hose it off. And he got his fate. You can't avoid your fate. You don't avoid your fate. Fate's unavoidable. Fate's unavoidable. And he got his in the end. But it kind of fucking sucked for me because I was just a little boy, and because he got away with it, and I run down the road talking about how I did the things I did, oral, and some profane things he wanted me to do because he was a pervert. And then he left me there in the loft of a barn, and God blessed me and showed me the way out, and there's some stairs that I seen the way he went, and I kind of snuck down after him. Got out of there and ran back down the road to my house, and God blessed me and got me across the road without getting hit by a car or nothing like that. But even my own brother and sister teasing me and calling me a homo and trying to roll me over to some home thing, all kinds of just horrible stuff. My brother would cook a stack of pancakes and he'd make me one drop, and I grew up my whole life like that, feeling like I was just worthless. I couldn't go outside and play. I had no friends. Even my friends would be nice one day, and the next thing you know, they were all backbiting me and throwing dog turds at me and dirt bombs, and they tricked me into taking my new shoes off to do something, and then somebody would run in and grab my shoes and dunk them into mud puddles. And I grew up with that my whole life, and I should have been a horrible, horrible, horrible demonic person. But I never did because I believe in God, and I'm a godly man. And God had needed me to be around for the times, trials, and tribulations, so that I could at least attempt to help people to get it right. Because they want the religion corrected. They want the correct stuff going in the bunkers. And you got to adhere to it. You don't interpret it. And if this succeeds, it'll bring glory to all mankind. At least our kind of mankind, because if it exceeds, that means that we passed the critical test and we didn't devolve in them bunkers, and we come out of it with the right mindset and the right religion and maybe the right kind of technology. When it's all done, it's going to take a long time for the center of the earth to stop doing its thing.